Welcome to Rebel Health Radio, bringing the best in alternative and integrative medicine to your ears.
Hello, it's Patricia Warby here of Alchemy Therapies, and today I want to talk about the importance of light in the biological systems of the body and how new information is coming into our awareness that shows that we are more than just chemical bodies. We have electromagnetic impacts on our environment, and indeed our environment has on us as well. And what's actually prompted this is, well, I wrote a book on it, Life Illuminated. I wrote in 2021, which was a book that sought to unravel some of this new information and present it in a new way. But even since I wrote that book, we are finding more and more about how light interacts at a cellular level with the human body. And one of the things that I've come across recently is the importance of mitochondrial function. Now, as you may or may not know, mitochondria are the energy factories of your cells, and they create the energy for every process in your body, from digestion, detoxification, your heart, your breath. Everything that needs energy uses mitochondria. And mitochondria have this phenomenal ability to take oxygen and transform it into ATP, adenosine triphosphate, and that's the energy currency of the cell. And they do so in a very interesting way along a little chain of complexes, protein complexes that are embedded in the membrane of the inside of the mitochondria. And if you slice through a mitochondrion, you would find that it's got these little sort of convoluted membranes inside. And embedded in there are these 4 protein complexes, which sort of channel electrons between them and pump out protons across the membrane from the inner membrane to the outer membrane space. And in doing so, they actually create energy. The final key point is the final part of the chain is a rotating complex. It actually vibrates and rotates, which pumps out ATP at the end. And we always conceived of that electron transport chain as a chemical procession of kind of different chemical compounds between one complex and another. But what we're finding is that photons, which are the basic building blocks of light, the little smallest particle of light, particle, wavicle, it's a mixture, but let's call them photons just to keep simple. And that actually impacts the efficiency of your mitochondria hugely. Now, why is that important? Well, quite honestly, it's really, really key at the moment because we are spending more and more time indoors or behind glass, whether we're in our car or in an office building or our homes. And the full spectrum of daylight cannot actually impact our bodies through glass, okay? And it certainly can't do it through a built environment. And so we're not getting a full spectrum irradiation of our bodies, which we would be if we were working outside, which is how our bodies are designed to be, really. We're designed to be basically in the open air. And largely, we are dependent on the quality of that light for the efficiency of our oxidative phosphorylation, which is the long name for basically making energy along this electron transport chain, transforming oxygen to energy out the other end. Now, there are also major developments at the moment with lighting and indoor lighting, which used to be the basic indoor lighting, used to be the standard light bulb, the incandescent bulbous light bulb, the old-fashioned type. And they were modeled on the spectrum of the sun, actually. And so it was very day-like light, and certainly our bodies would receive it that way. But what we're seeing now is the impact of, firstly, we had halogen, and now we have LED lights, which are taking over office buildings, shops, hospitals, sadly, are all being replaced. Fluorescent lights are being replaced with these LED lights, which have this really blue, dead feeling. And there's a reason for that, because they don't contain any of the infrared frequencies, particularly the longer wavelengths of over 670 to 700 nanometers. So that's kind of the frequency that we're looking at, the wavelength. So it's really important because our bodies are now, even in a place which supposedly would be a healing place of a hospital or a clinic, is now depriving our bodies of the very thing that we need to be healing, which is light energy. You can improve that with nutrition, of course, because we can borrow chemical compounds and their light absorbing complexes from what we eat. But if you're not actually getting daylight as well, this is a really big issue. And it's one of the reasons why, before the advent of antibiotics, a lot of the healing cures were to put patients outside under blankets. I'm not joking, in the old tuberculosis wards, for instance. And certainly prior to the advent of World War II, people would often be laid outside to receive as much daylight, or they'd be sent off for a cure somewhere in the mountains where the light was really pure. And there was a really good reason for that. And now we're replacing this with junk food, highly processed, as you know, is really in the news at the moment, and this dead blue lighting, which does nothing for our functioning and our efficiency of our energy systems. Now, there are solutions. Okay, so the first thing is to get yourself a daylight lamp. Now, this is an example of a daylight lamp, a full spectrum lamp, designed to mimic the full range of electromagnetic frequencies that our bodies are sensitive to. And the best time of day to use that is in the morning. If you don't have enough daylight, if you miss the daylight going out, but going out is even better. Exercising outside, so whether you go for a run or a walk or just some yoga stretches, getting outside is really key. And we see that a lot of people think that going to the gym is their exercise for the week. But of course, most of those places are completely artificially lit, and there's no daylight getting through, as I've said, through the glass, if there are any windows. I've seen a lot of gyms recently that are completely devoid of natural daylight. So this is another issue, but getting yourself a daylight lamp, whether the type that I've got there, which is a swivel lamp for a desk, or there are some that actually just have a panel that you angle towards your face and will kind of bathe you in light. The afternoons are probably not the best time. Towards the evening, your mitochondria are starting to slow down anyway. Remember, they were once bacteria that the animal cell absorbed, so they respond. So mornings are ideal. And what's really interesting about mitochondria, actually, new information is coming out that they actually orientate towards light, particularly along nerve axons. Now, a nerve cell has a cell body and then this long sort of string of procession, I suppose you'd say, a sort of fingers that come out from the nerve cell. Now, a nerve cell has a cell body, and then it has these processes which come out from the nerve cell along a sort of almost Now, nerve cells have a nerve cell body, and then they have a long filament, which is like a long string of a process that comes out to connect with other nerve cells. And that's the axon. And it's surrounded by a sheath, a myelin sheath, a fatty sheath. And mitochondria move up and down the nerve axon and orientate and help the nerve to grow towards the light. Okay, and this happens in our brains as well. It may be one of the reasons why we have, or babies certainly have, a gap at the top of in the fontanelle when they're first born. Light irradiating the brain, of course, is going to make it a lot easier for nerve cells to grow and develop. And we're born very mature, so that's probably a process that needs to happen very quickly. But even as adults, we orientate in some ways towards light through the eyes, of course, as well, which are really important. Incidentally, I think lack of infrared light is certainly implicated in a lot of eye disease, in particular macular degeneration, which affects a lot of older people. And so bringing light in to the body is really, really key. Now, I'm going to include in the show notes one of the videos I watched with a professor from Imperial College London who was talking actually. Now, I'm going to include in the show notes one of the videos I watched with a professor from University College London, and it's all about this orientation towards light and how important mitochondria are and infrared with them. It's really intriguing, and it really calls for us to mobilize the governments to put into place some legal restrictions on how much LED lighting is put in certain places. And I think he's actually working with architects to try and make that a legal sort of movement, because we do have a major problem coming if that isn't recognized. So neuroscience is showing us that the brain orientates towards light, that nerve growth, which is what creates memory and functioning generally in your brain, is helped along by the quality of the light that you receive. And we're seeing that it's a vibrational state, that nerve connections are not just chemistry, which is what I learned, but that the connections are actually responding to wavelengths that maybe we can't perceive. Infrared actually is a wavelength that we don't see, but it's something that we nevertheless are impacted by. And I would suggest that you functionally look at improving your ability to receive infrared, either through artificial light or by going outside. The final thing I wanted to cover today was to do with some of the modern technologies which are helping to change this vibrational state of our brain. And one of the most superb new apps that I've come across is called Lumenate, Lumenate, Lumenate. And I must admit, it was recommended to me by a client, and I thought it would be just a strobe. It actually uses the flashlight on the back of your phone to irradiate. And if you hold it reasonably close to your face, and I expected it to be like a strobe, and it would just kind of entrain my brain, very much like some of the audios that I use, the binaural beat audios. But it turns out, no, not at all. It was quite phenomenal. And when I've done some of the free explorations within the app, and it's very much like a psychedelic trip. I started to see patterns and colors emerging, and I felt like I was transforming and moving and processing in a completely different way, and actually felt my autonomic nervous system adjusting because of that. And actually, in the first session, my gut unclenched, and I realized I was holding a lot of tension there. So I don't have shares in Lumenate. I am not linked to them in any way. It's just, if I discover something that I think is really powerful and something that might allow people to experience altered states of consciousness without having to do anything, let's face it, illegal, then I think it's a really good idea to use something like the Lumenate app and explore for yourself. Okay, well, I hope some of that was interesting to you, the importance of light in life process. And I hope it's given you some ideas for maybe improving your connection with the light quality, in particular, the infrared range. And don't forget, if you feel like you would like to get some one-to-one work, you can find me on alchemytherapies.co.uk, and look forward to seeing you soon. Take care. Bye for now. Bye-bye.
Hey, hope you enjoyed listening to Rebel Health Radio. Do subscribe and look forward to catching you soon.